welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Wynn filling in for my co-host, Mr. Sharpie, who plans to be back tomorrow. It is snowing outside. You know, every Wednesday we are joined by none other than the hoops guru of this show. No doubt about it. Nobody knows basketball better than this guy in this town. It is Jamison Walsh from Drive Time Sports. And Jamison walks into the studio, and he's like, there's snow all over him. I'm like,
snow.
It's really bad. He's like, what? You're thinking you weren't even going to show up today because it's come on. It's not that bad out there.
You're from the East Coast.
Yeah.
I'm not from here. I'm not from there. I'm from the West Coast.
Well,
he's a West
explain
Coast
to
guy.
me.
This is the first time I've ever seen snow.
Okay, so explain this to me. Why do you get so scared when there's, God forbid, there's a half an inch of snow on the ground, which, by the way, never sticks in most of Las Vegas? Why do people get so scared when they are driving in the snow? Explain that to me.
It's bad when it's sunny and people are driving. Snow doesn't help at all. Snow makes it a lot worse.
And you know what's funny, James and Bry, is that it doesn't snow in Vegas. It snowed what? How many times it snowed? Like what? 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years
Basically.
It snowed here, and now it snowed twice in the last week, which is crazy.
Exactly.
I don't know. I people just make it out to be like this huge emergency. Like you watch the news, the local news, the way they cover weather. I was talking about this last week. It was raining outside last week, and it led the newscast at 5 and 6. I'm like, you guys have nothing better to talk about than the weather?
Well, you know why that they talk about it as an emergency. It's because people don't know how to drive in the snow here in Vegas. So if it does stick out, Brian, if it sticks out there for like a half an inch or an inch, people start freaking out on the roads. They're swerving all over the place, and it ends up being just a complete you-know-what show. So it's a rough deal.
You know what else is a you-know-what show right now? The UNLV basketball program. You see how I made that segue? I'm such a pro. No, but in all seriousness, a lot has transpired in the last couple days. A lot of Rick Pitino rumors, a lot of information, some information that I had, some information that other people had, some true, some not so true. But let me give as much information and as much perspective on this as possible. Then I want to get both of your thoughts on this. To me, the issue in hiring Rick Pitino, to me, based on the information that I have, is not the baggage, is not the investigations, not the sex that he had with a waitress in a restaurant when he was married, not the sex ring circus all that other stuff. It has to do with one word, and that is money. Mm-hmm. Where does the money come from? I was on the air Monday, and I said Elaine Wynn could be a big part of this. As far as I know, the Fertittas are no part of this. They're not putting any money towards the basketball program. At least that's what I heard. I don't know what the situation is with Elaine Wynn, but I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to tell you where I heard it. I'm not going to go into detail. But as you know, Jamison, shoe deals are a big part of college basketball. There are certain prominent people that will sign huge checks that run certain organizations for sponsorships.
Correct.
From what I've heard, the people that UNLV could possibly go after have horrible relationships with Rick Pitino, and they would never work with him again. If that is the case, Rick Pitino ain't getting hired here.
That's okay. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, first of all, he's the best candidate available. We can all agree upon that. He's the best guy out there.
Absolutely.
That's actively coaching, that's actively seeking a coaching job. He's actually like the new era of Larry Brown. Larry Brown's pushing late 70s now. He's kind of out the way. Pitino's kind of that guy, basketball lifer, kind of a nomad. He goes everywhere, coaches. He does well wherever he goes. You think of the UNLV job, the Pitino name would be great, but he's only going to be here for 3 or 4 years. Like, we want somebody that's going to be here for a while. Like, I heard the name Thad Matta mentioned. He's a younger guy. He's younger than Pitino, obviously, but that's a name that you can actually build something with. He's not going to be a guy that's going to just be here for 3 or 4 years and then bounce. And even if he does, he'll at least have assistants that could take over. My biggest issue with the Pitino hire is this. If he stays for 3 or 4 years, his son's going to take over. His son's terrible.
Richard, yeah.
Yeah, that's the issue I have with it. I mean, don't get me wrong, you get 3 good years with the older guy, but the young guy comes in and messes everything up. Then you're at square one again.
So, Jamison, you really think that Richard Pitino is going to come and be an assistant after he's been at Minnesota in the Big Ten, coaching the Big Ten? You think he's going to come to UNLV and be an assistant under his dad?
Not necessarily an assistant, but, coaching waiting. You know how it goes, because Minnesota's not doing that well. I mean, they're not. Yeah. They've had expectations. They've actually recruited well for being in Minnesota, and they haven't really lived up to it. And the Big Ten hasn't been all that great as of late. I mean, it's Michigan State, Wisconsin, even Iowa this year was pretty good. But after that, it's a far, far drop down. Even Nebraska's supposed to be good. They're not even good. So I look at the situation like, okay, I can see a situation where Rick comes 3 or 4 years, names his son coach in waiting. And I think that's an awful situation.
I also heard that amongst some boosters that have been having conversations over the last few days, that they are understanding and realizing that it is a little bit more expensive to hire not even a big-name coach, just a good coach in waiting, perhaps more expensive than they thought. And if they don't have people opening up the checkbooks, that they're considering bringing Marvin Menzies back for another year if he brings a top recruiter on staff. They will give him another year. And I've also heard rumors that if they are invited to the CBI this year, that they are considering taking that. What do you think? As UNLV, do you think that you should be playing in the CBI in any way, shape, or form? I'll ask both you guys that question. Jameson, what do you think?
Absolutely. And this is a team that has a lot of young players. They need all the playing they can get. They need all the experience they can get. They're not in a position to turn down tournaments. They're not in that situation right now. They need all the games they can get right now.
Chris, what do you think?
As sad as it seems and it sounds, I would have to say yes as well, too. Look, this is not the program that is, top tier that it was back in the 90s. It's not even what it was when Lon Kruger was here in the mid-2000s. So I think it's also a program that hasn't been in the postseason for a lot of years now. Since last time was when they got bounced by California, right, in the first round of the NCAA tournament. It's been a while since they played postseason.
I can't believe I'm going to do this, but let me defend Dave Rice for a second. Okay, some people in the media are saying that, well, Dave Rice in his third year was 10-8 in the conference. Let me remind everybody that's exactly the response that I got. Okay,
right.
I'm not going to say which station did that, but you could probably make an educated guess. But first of all, San Diego State was, I believe, 15th or 16th in the country. Right. So was New Mexico. Right. Okay, and then you had about 3 or 4 teams that were lingering around 100 in the country.
Right.
The conference is a complete 180 to when it was back then. How could people make ignorant statements
because
like
that's
that?
why I always say numbers don't always tell the whole story. Because like you mentioned, it's 10-8. What's the record right now? 9-5. 9-5. So 9-5 is the record, and yeah, it's not bad. But when you take a deeper dive into it, their best wins versus Boise State.
Yeah. Who is number 135 in the country.
And that's their best win
and that's
conference.
Their best win.
And when you look up everyone above them, they've gotten blown out.
Oh, and by the way, they only play Utah State once this year. They only play Fresno State once this year. What would be their record if they played those teams 2 more times?
It would be bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Utah State might get an at-large bid. Like, that's how good of a season they're having.
According to Joe Lunardi, who is pretty good, they're one of the first teams out. But if they make the finals, let's just say they beat a team like a Fresno State in the semis. Mm-hmm. If they make the finals of the Mountain West Conference tournament, I think they're in. And I think this maybe you can get 2 teams into the NCAA tournament.
I'll give you one better. This is a very soft bubble. Like, it's probably the softest bubble we've ever seen because there's a couple major conferences that are down. Like the Pac-12 is getting 1 or 2 teams at the most, probably 1 team. So when you think about it like that, Utah State might just need to make the final. Like, even if it's not against Nevada, they might just make the final to get in. Like, that's how strong their case is. When you think about the Mountain West now and what it was 8-10 years ago, it's no comparison. Like, you can't compare. I mean, it's not even fair to compare the two. It's totally different. Like, there was no San Jose State 10 years ago in this conference that was 0-12 or whatever they are, 0-13. That wasn't the case. So for people to compare, I get it. It's cute to compare, but come on now.
So we have a couple questions for you, Jameson, on Twitter, and C-Wen, I want you to get involved with these questions as well. 2 questions. Let's take one at a time here. Angel fan asked, how could money be an issue if boosters are talking directly to him? If Francois signs off, the money is there. This has Fertitta's written all over it, doesn't it? Your response to that.
So here's the thing. Everyone talks about money, how much money they have, how much they're willing to spend until it's time to spend. That's just how it always goes. Everyone talks about, oh, we should do this, we should do that, until it's actually time to put up. My thing is this. I understand where a lot of fans are coming from. Like, we're in Vegas. Why are we losing out for money reasons? I can see if we're losing out for other reasons, but money reasons shouldn't be the one. Well, it's one of those things where people talk a great game until it's time to really put up. And if you're trying to get Pitino, it's not just Pitino himself and his salary. It's the rest of his staff, private jets, other perks that people don't understand and know about. It's not just the actual coaching salary. So, like Brian said earlier, who's going to put up those funds whenever it's needed? That's a great question.
You forgot to put hookers in there, too. You forgot to throw that in there.
We're trying to bring him here.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And for Angel fans, too, I would add this for you guys as well, too, is that a couple of those people that we're talking about, whether it's Elaine Wynn, whether it's the other person as well, too, the other angel investor that could possibly, there are conditions involved here, right? There, it's not just, we're going to donate to the university and then, the athletic director and the department, you guys just make a decision on who the coach is going to be. There's, they have expectations that they're expecting to be filled if they do donate that money.
Kevin asks, do the Fertittas really care about basketball? They're pretty hyper-focused on making Tony Sanchez a success, and he's had a good offseason. Your thoughts on that?
They care about UNLV, right? I mean, they do care about just the athletic program as a whole. Now, obviously, they are, it's been well known throughout the last 2, 3, 4 years that the football program does take precedent for them. But I think, when it's all said and done for the Fertittas, it's about the athletic program at UNLV.
Jameson, you agree with that?
So, the Fertittas are a football family from what we've known. Look at Gorman. They made Gorman's football program what it is and what it was. UNLV, like the caller or the listener mentioned, hey, he's pretty much there because of them. If it wasn't for them, he would not be the coach. So, but here's the thing: there is, and I'm not sure if they're related, but Tillman Fertitta, who owns the Rockets, he's also the biggest booster of the Houston Cougars. He pretty much got them their football coach. And I'm not sure if they're related or not, but that's something to look into because when schools really want someone, their boosters make it happen. Yeah. And that's the thing. These boosters out here talk a great game, but who's going to make it happen if someone's going to make it happen?
Yeah, that's a very good point. Jameson Welsh from Drive Time Sports joining us, as well as Chris Wynn. We're talking a little UNLV Hoops, our Twitter page, @TheVegasTake. If you'd like to be a part of the conversation, we'll also take some phone calls. The phone number to call is 257-5396, 702-257-5396. Maybe you could also tell me why there are so many bad drivers in Las Vegas when there's like a 1/10 of an inch of snow on the ground. Maybe you're out there driving right now listening to us, and you can tell us how are the driving conditions in Las Vegas? What is worse? Explain this to me. I'll throw this question out there. What's worse? The driving in Las Vegas when there's a little bit of snow on the ground, or the attendance lately at UNLV basketball games? What do you think is worse?
Driving's way worse because here's the thing. Like I said, it's worse during perfect conditions. It's bad during perfect conditions. So when you throw any element of weather, whether it's rain, sleet, or snow, or wind, it's all bad.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think the attendance at UNLV is worse than the driving.
But at least the attendance is expected because we know we know the product that's getting served out there. With the driving, there's no excuse for really bad driving if it's windy, but we get it every day.
That's true.
I am fascinated, you guys, though, to be honest, that we're talking about all these scenarios in regards to head coaches at UNLV, and yet they still have a head coach at UNLV in Marvin Menzies. What do you guys think as far as is the writing on the wall? I mean, are we talking? Is it almost an inevitable thing that Marvin Menzies is probably going to be looking for another spot to go to?
Look, if somebody from Nike or another company decides to write a big check to get a big name coach or maybe possibly a better coach here, Marvin Menzies is out the door faster than you know it. It's very simple. This is a money circumstance. I think a lot of people, the higher ups at UNLV, understand that Menzies is probably not the right guy for this job. He's not recruiting those star players, and he's just not getting these guys to play the basketball they need to play, not just to compete in the Mountain West Conference, but to get to the NCAA tournament. Let's take a couple of calls at 257-5396. Let's start off with Scott. Scott, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Good. This is how bad the Mountain West Conference is. Do you guys have heard of the Ken Palm rating?
Yeah, of course. I looked at it today, actually. Yep.
The WAC conference, which I'll put $100 that says 99% of your listeners can't name every team in the WAC conference.
Well, every team. How about 2 or 3 teams in the WAC?
What?
How about 2 or 3 teams in the WAC? You said every team. I bet they couldn't name 2 or 3 teams in the WAC.
Yeah, New Mexico State, I know them.
Keep going. Come on. See if you guys can give me at least 5 teams in the WAC.
Jameson, I'm going to ask you because I know I can't.
Texas, Arlington, aren't they in that conference too?
Grand Canyon.
There you go.
University of Missouri, Kansas City.
Oh, that's a good one. You got
Chicago State.
Yeah, very good.
Do we already mention Grand Canyon?
Yeah, you already did.
New Mexico State.
Canyon, yep.
That's 4.
And Bakersfield.
Wow.
That's impressive.
See, Jameson is just my hoops
guy. What if I would have told you guys that Seattle is in that league, Utah Valley, and Rio Grande, which used to be Pan American.
And Seattle just turned D1 not that long ago. Yeah. Not a very good conference, to say the least.
And Cal Baptist is in second place.
But Scott, if you talk to Marvin Menzies supporters, they will tell you, look at his resume at New Mexico State. Look at what he accomplished. And you know what my response to that is? He never beat a top 25 team in the country in his tenure there, and he never won an NCAA tournament. So people can't make that argument with me. They just can't.
Well, I mean, the gist of my calling in is to say that the Mountain West Conference, just like you guys have already covered, it is horrible. It's a bad conference right now. The WAC conference is a better rated conference, and people can't name 4 or 5 teams.
Scott, I'll give you one even better. The Ivy League in some ratings are better than the Mountain West Conference. The Ivy
and that's
League.
Non-scholarship, non-scholarship.
Yes. Brown this year beat San Diego State. They have no scholarship players, and they beat San Diego State. By the way, that's another coach. Dutch is on the hot seat there at San Diego State. I think San Jose State, if you want to talk Mountain West Conference real quick, Scott, San Jose State, they might just get rid of that program altogether. Yeah, they really should. It's just horrible. How about Wyoming? That coach is on his way out the door, too. That is just a pathetic program. Although UNLV, it was a one-possession game yesterday with about – Jameson's going to laugh. One-possession game with 4 minutes to go, Jameson. It's just horrible.
And they're lucky Justin Jackson.
Harry Porter will resign at Portland within a month after the last game. He will resign. That's my prediction.
That's very, very possible.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you.
Scott. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott.
257-5396. Again, 702-257-5396. I pose this question to all of you out there right now. It is snowing in Vegas. What is worse? The driving in Las Vegas tonight or the attendance at UNLV basketball games? Let's go to Fernando. Fernando, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hey, fellas. It's got to be the driving in the snow. Everybody goes crazy and bonkers over it.
Fair enough.
I think Jameson brought Larry Brown. He put 2 schools on probation, UCLA and SME recently. So he's kind of crooked. Anyway, you guys seen lots of basketball games, okay? I'm going to give you 3 names, okay? Dave Hall, Tommy Nunes Jr., and Larry Spalding.
Yes.
Who's the worst referee?
I'm going to say Dave. Well, okay, I got a funny Nunez story for you. I'm going to say Dave Hall, but I got a funny. So if you know Nunez, his father was a legendary official, and now his father grades the officials. So I'm sitting next to Nunez for the West Coast Conference Tournament because Nunez Sr., by the way, he did the Magic Johnson-Larry Bird college championship game. So that his father's incredible, was an incredible official, did a good job. I'm sitting next to his dad. And I say to Nunez, because I knew his son was out there. This was at the West Coast Conference Tournament here at the Orleans. I said, so what do you think about your son? How's he doing out there? He looks at me and he goes, my son sucks. He looks at me and he says that. And I said, whoa, here's a little stat for you. Nunez Jr. was actually at the Malice at the Palace. He actually was an official at that game, and then he got fired from the NBA or let go. I don't think Nunez is horrible. I don't think he's great. I think he's better than Dave Hall. You know why I would say Dave Hall is the guy? Because he tries to – the best officials are not noticed, in my personal opinion. And Dave Hall always wants to be noticed in games. And I'm giving you a long answer because I've been a 20-year official. I am not a Dave Hall guy. I never have been.
Right. But one year when I was living in Southern California, I went to go see the Lakers and the Sixers, and Tommy Sr. was doing the game. And he was terrible. Fans were throwing ice creams at him and hot dogs and soda.
Jeez.
It was terrible.
That's
and
bad.
So was his son.
Nobody ever did that to me, thank God. Not at a high school game, anyway. Wow.
So, all right, you guys take care now.
All right, thanks, Fernando.
Thanks, Fernando.
All right, we're getting asked on grading officials. Jameson, go ahead, answer that question. Who do you think is the worst?
Dave Hall is the worst, and I'll tell you a quick story why. I was mentioning him on Twitter when Kyle Kuzma was at Utah, and Kyle Kuzma agreed so much with me, he ended up following me. That's how bad, because everyone on the West Coast knows if you're in the Pac-12, Mountain West, WCC, whatever conference you're on the West Coast from basically Texas on West, you're going to have a game or two for Dave Hall that week. That's just how it goes. It's like he works every night. Like if you guys watch and follow college, it's like he's on TV every night messing up games. And everyone knows that if he's reffing your game, you're going to be in foul trouble, and it's going to be a 2.5-hour game.
I don't think people realize how much these officials get paid. On average for a D1 game, some of these officials are getting at least $2,000. If you're a Pac-12 official, I believe you're making more than that. These officials are making a lot of money. And a guy like Dave Hall, by the way, a guy like that is also doing camps in the summertime, summer camps. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of up-and-coming officials that want to become college officials, and that costs like $400 or $500 a pop to show up at one of these camps, just so maybe these types of officials can get a look at you and maybe pick one or two to move up to the next level. Is nonsense. I really think it is.
Quick note for the UNLV fans out there that absolutely cannot stand the Dukies. They are getting taken out behind the woodshed right now, down 20 at Cameron Indoor against North Carolina. Zion Williamson out for the game, though, with a knee injury.
That's big, and we don't know how serious it is, but we'll continue to monitor that. By the way, as a positive, I do like Vern Harris. I think Vern Harris is one of the best officials in the Mountain West Conference, and I also think he's one of the best officials in the country, and he's just smooth, and he's a great communicator with the coaches, and I think a lot of coaches would agree with me. I think Vern Harris is one of the best. He doesn't get noticed. He's very good at what he does. He's just a really, really good official, and that's why he gets Final Four games. 257-5396. Again, the number to call 702-257-5396. A little winter weather here in Las Vegas. That's right. I'm looking outside the window right now. It is coming down hard. It's snowing, but I'm happy because now my car actually will look clean. I'm getting a free car wash today as Jameson shakes his head.
You're going to have snow, though, inside your trunk of your car, so that's true. That's going to be rough.
That's true. It's not good. Not good at all.
No, it's not.
Okay, so I asked both you guys this question several weeks ago, and I'm going to ask it to you now. Odds that Marvin Menzies is the coach of UNLV basketball next year. Jameson, you first.
I still think it's under 30%. I don't think it's that high just because of the way the program is looking. Not necessarily because of the job he's doing, just the way the team looks, the way the attendance is. Again, UNLV is a basketball school. If you're not making a lot of money in basketball, you got to find somebody who will.
I put it about 25% chance that he comes back. I just think there's other options, and I think that the mentality, it's not just of the fans, I think it's of the school, of the athletic department. I think everybody has moved on already. I think everyone's looking for the next chapter, right? Looking to turn the page. And so, in my opinion, I think that it's a 1 in 4 chance, basically, that he comes back.
Here's the thing. I mean, he's got some decent players coming back next year. I think that even with Marvin Menzies coaching this team, they're probably a top 3 team in the conference. They're certainly not a top 25 team in the conference. But even with that being said, are the fans going to come out for that in a really bad conference? If you finish second, third, fourth in the conference, is that going to resurrect the program? I just don't see that happening.
Fans aren't going to come back till they win. It doesn't even matter even if they, let's say somehow they get 2 top 20 recruits. It doesn't matter. We've seen that before. We've been through that before. People are not going to come back until they start winning. When I mean winning, when they start beating, like you mentioned earlier, top 25 teams, start going on winning streaks, being ranked. Fans aren't going to come back until that happens. Until that happens, you're going to see the same kind of attendance at Thomas and Mack.
You know, let me just add this, and I don't think Danny Tarkanian would mind me saying this because we chat here and there. And Danny Tarkanian told me today that he actually seems to think that UNLV could absolutely afford Rick Pitino, even without the boosters. He seems to think that Pitino would pay to be the coach here.
Not so fast. It's the reason why he went overseas to coach a little bit as well. Is he's not doing it for just to be doing it. He's going to make his money as well. Plus, again, it's not just his salary. That's the thing people have to understand. It's not just the head coach's salary. It's the assistant, the staffs, all the people he brings with him. So I don't know if the school is ready to shell out those kind of funds. If they are, they'll probably get him. If they are not, they will not. And again, Pitino may work for a discount, but his staff definitely won't.
And it's not like he's coming to a school like a UCLA, right, or a Kentucky where, there could be that motivation for him. He's coming to a school that is looking to rebuild, looking to just get back into the mix, back into relevancy in college basketball. So that's another element I, too, think when you talk about the money with Rick Pitino that matters.
With that being said, if Pitino's here within year 3 would be a very good year. Like year 1 would be whatever, whatever players he can get.
I think year 2 had the potential of being a good year.
You know what I mean? Year 3 is that year, like, okay, they might be a national contender, like they might be a top 20 team.
So what do you make it with the excuse that, with Marvin Menzies, that year 1 is a complete wash and this isn't year 3? Next year would be year 3. Do you even buy that?
No. Look here, because year 2, he had a Burger Boy and he had the best JUCO transfer there was. And for those that know what Burger Boy is, a McDonald's All-American.
Yeah.
So when you have a McDonald's All-American, the best JUCO guy there is, there's no excuse. You're supposed to win. And both guys were averaging double-doubles. So what happened?
They should have been a better team last year, no question. And look, I would make you might make a judgment on Marvin Menzies over his tenure here at UNLV. I'm telling you, year 2 was one that I'll judge him big time on, because that was a team that should have been a lot better than they were a year ago. Yeah. With the talent that they had on that team, they should have made a bigger mark, in my opinion.
I'll do you one better.
Yeah,
it hurt Brandon McCoy's career. That even though there's some things that he didn't do well also, but
how about Steven Zimmerman? It hurt his career too. You can make the argument.
But last year in terms of but him playing for Menzies did not help the situation. If Brandon McCoy goes to any other school that was in his top 5, he's in the NBA right now. Mm-hmm. But he came here and it did not work out well. The coaching staff didn't help him get better. He actually got worse, and now I think he's overseas now.
That is such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up, because even before Justin got hurt, I thought he regressed. I thought last year he had a very, very good year, and I said, wow, this kid has the chance of playing at the next level. How about the first 3 weeks of the season before he got hurt? He looked terrible.
Yeah, he didn't like the same guy we saw last year.
No, why? What happened?
Again, this stat doesn't have a history of producing pros. Pascal Siakam was a guy in Mexico State that Marv was always going to have, claim to fame, and rightfully so. But that's one guy. there's not a history, and UNLV has put a lot of guys in the pros over the last decade, and I don't see that staff being able to put guys in the pros consistently. So when I look at Brandon McCoy not getting better, actually regressing throughout the season, it was like, something isn't right here. And then, like you mentioned, Houston earlier this season before he got injured, I'm like, it's not the same guy.
We're going to take a break but in a few minutes here. But before we take a break, and by the way, the number to call, 257-5396. That's 257-5396 if you want to be a part of this conversation. I want to ask both of you, who do you guys think is the favorite? It sounds like to be the next coach at UNLV, assuming, and it is an assumption, that Marvin Menzies is not the coach here next year. It sounds to me, Jameson, you're saying the favorite's probably Thad Matta. That's
probably the favorite. I mean, right now, there's going to be a lot of guys putting their hats or their name in the hat because it's a good job. Like, outside looking in, it's a good job. A lot of people have some issues with it in terms of, like you mentioned, the money part and some of the offices and whatnot. But with that being said, it's still a really good job on paper. You can get a lot done with this job. I think Thad Matta would be the guy. However, there's a lot of other jobs out there that are going to be open that may outbid UNLV for his services.
Chris, what do you say?
I'd have to agree. I think Thad Matta is if it's not Rick Pitino, it's going to be Thad Matta, in my opinion. And look, there's some outliers, obviously, whether it's Larry Eustachy, whether it's the guy that I love, which is Steve Lavin, which who I wanted them to hire before they hired Marvin Menzies, but it makes the most sense with Thad Matta, given what Jameson talked about earlier, where he's not an ancient coach, but he's also, he's got a lot of experience. He's a coach. Much like Lon Kruger, he's been able to coach in other conferences that are, more high-powered conferences. So I think that would be beneficial to this program as well, too.
All right, San Diego State on Saturday. Who wins that game?
San Diego State.
Really? Even here, you think San Diego State wins?
And McDaniel's kid has a good game. He's been playing very well lately. Like, last 10 games, he's been playing very well.
Does Dutch survive?
I think so. Like, here's the thing. I really do, because one, they didn't have a whole lot of expectations coming into the season. Like, they were a top 20 team or they were supposed to make the tournament. They're kind of, if we make it to the tournament, great. If we make the NIT, great. But it's not a do or die year. However, they have to start recruiting better, and they have to find their identity. They're not the same defensive first team they once were. They have to find an identity under the new coaching staff.
Chris, you agree with that?
I think there's no question he keeps his job. Look, they're coming off of a coach that was that just transformed that program into one of the better programs in the Mountain West. Now, obviously, the last couple of years that Dutch has been there, it hasn't been great, but they're still going to give him a little bit of a leash, in my opinion, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
As far as the game on Saturday, I'm going to agree with Jameson. Here's why. The last two games they've played some of the worst D1 college basketball teams out there, certainly in San Jose State. They are literally one of the worst D1 teams, and I'll tell you, not far behind them is the Wyoming Cowboys. They are just atrocious. Both of those games, even though they were on the road, both of those games were one-possession games. In the San Jose State game, if I'm not mistaken, it was a one-possession game with a minute to go. I don't know how that happens. In Wyoming, it was a one-possession game with 4 minutes to go. They just struggled shooting the basketball. Just not a good brand of basketball. Go ahead.
Justin James, who's probably going to end up being in the NBA one of these days. I don't know if it's going to be right out of college. You may have to go to the G League, overseas, whatever. He's an NBA-type talent. He had like 3 or 4 turnovers in a row down the stretch that pretty much ended the game last night.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. It was kind of weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm going to say it was kind of weird. I'm watching the game at a bar across the street with my friends, and Ron Futrell was on the show yesterday, and Ron actually took them. And I said to him, because I think that kid missed a couple free throws, then he had a couple turnovers, and I said, Ron, it looks like he's taking book. And I said it sort of as a joke, meaning somebody's paying him so that they don't not cover the spread, which I believe was 6. And then in the final minute of the game, he turns the ball over 2 more times, and I'm talking about blatant turnovers. Like, it looked clear that he turned the ball over, and he fouled, and he wasn't playing defense. And I am wondering, Jameson, I think some of this stuff happens more than we know, that these kids don't have any money. I'm just saying, man, it just looked very suspicious. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, it looked extremely suspicious. However, I mean, we have no proof. That's the thing. We're not going to go out here accusing people. That's not what we're not going to do tonight.
I'm just saying it was suspicious.
I mean, but here's the thing. He was playing out of control the whole game because he's their only guy. Like, he's their team. He's their best rebounder, their best shooter, their best pass. Like, so I get it. He was just out of control a lot. That was the biggest issue. But, I mean, he's a hell of a talent. He'll probably be in the NBA one way, shape, or form. But, yeah, down the stretch, it was very, very shaky. I'm glad you recognized it as well.
I did. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, we're in studio. Jameson Wolf, Drive Time Sports. Also, we got Chris Wynn in studio as well. When we come back, There's a new bet in town in regards to the LA Lakers, whether they will make the playoffs or not. I will give you the odds on that. We'll ask Jameson about it when we come back, and some news about LeBron James. That and much, much more. The number to call, 257-5396, if you want to be a part of the program. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN. All right, welcome back. It is The Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. Sharpie, my co-host, will be back in studio tomorrow. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a coin flip, minus 110, yes or no. We'll see if he joins me tomorrow. But we got some great guys in studio. Chris Wynn, of course, who joins us every Monday, has been my co-host today. And Jameson Welsh, who joins us every Wednesday from Drive Time Sports, our hoops guru. So a lot of things going on in the NBA. But one bet that I noticed that is up at the Westgate Casino: will the Lakers make the playoffs? A yes is plus 105. The no, I believe, is somewhere, you're paying a little juice. I think it's minus 120, something. Yep. Somewhere along those lines, you guys being the gamblers as I am. What do you think about this bet?
I love the yes. I mean, and not just because, I like the Lakers or they have LeBron. One thing is, you think about the Clippers are tanking. Like, they're trying to lose games. They want to keep their pick. The Kings are young, and their next 4 or 5 games are very difficult. And that's kind of going to decide what's going to happen in this race. But also, something that no one's really talking about, the Spurs have been on a downturn. Like, the Spurs' last 2 games have not been pretty. They're an older team, and this is a unit that really hasn't been through the wars together. All their veterans are pretty much gone. LaMarcus is still there, but Parker's gone, Ginobili's gone. This is a totally new group going through some things that they've never gone through as a unit before. So it would not surprise me if the Spurs fall out the playoff picture as well.
Plus 105, C-Win. What do you think?
I approach it this way, Jameson, just a little bit different. I look at it from a Lakers perspective. This is a team, obviously, with a lot of young players, okay, that are playing prominent roles. LeBron James, he's made 8 consecutive NBA Finals. He's reached the 13 consecutive postseasons. Many of those instances, he's played on teams that have been very good and been, he can kind of, save energy down the stretch of the regular season, because he's hoping to make a deep playoff run. So, I mean, the situation in Los Angeles is completely different this year for him. He's not going to be able to take the foot off the pedal whatsoever. You have a team that's been underperforming all season long. They've struggled with injuries in Los Angeles. They've had suspensions and a lot of uneven play in a tough Western Conference. So for me, I think it's gonna rely a lot on LeBron James to be able to put the pedal to the metal, basically. I think all the way through for them to be able to make the playoffs.
I think their biggest issue has been injuries, because before he got hurt, they were the 4th seed out west. Before he got hurt, they were playing actually pretty well. Their defense was top 10 in the league. They got hurt. LeBron got hurt, missed 18 games. Lonzo Ball got hurt, who's probably their best defender. They have to get healthy. If they're healthy, I think they make it. But if they have any more injuries, it's kind of tough. You just can't keep on playing backups, and your depth that is already kind of questionable gets weakened. It's kind of difficult to make up ground.
If you have any questions for my hoops guru, who is Jameson Welsh, please give him a call. Don't call his cell phone personally. You can give us a call right now. Any basketball questions for Jameson or Chris Wynn or myself, but Jameson will answer these questions. I'll have him start. Number to call, 257-5396, 702-257-5396. All hoops questions revolving around college basketball or the NBA, which we are discussing right now. And I have a question for you, Jameson. Rumors have circulated that if Kevin Durant leaves the Golden State Warriors, you know who I'm going to say, right? Might be the next Golden State Warrior. It is the Greek Freak. That is the rumor that has been circulating. What do you think about that?
I mean, he really loves Milwaukee. He's a foreign guy, so it's a little bit different. However, gotta see. I mean, right now the Warriors are kind of cap-strapped. Even if Durant leaves, even if Klay Thompson were to leave, they'd still have cap issues because they have a couple other guys at high-price extensions or high-price contracts that they'd have to, either let go or kind of wait till they expire. So we'll see what happens. But they have to keep this thing going. Like, the Warriors have built a brand now that they can't go back to just being a regular team. If Durant leaves, which I think he will, I think Klay stays. But, if you lose Durant, you got to find a way to be a premier team going forward because, one, you're charging premier prices. And in California, if you don't win, people don't go to games. Like, that's just plain and simple. I don't care where you're at. People don't go to games. So it would not surprise me if they go big game hunting. They probably won't get Anthony Davis just the way the contract situation's lined up. But Giannis is the next guy that the Anthony Davis saga is going to happen to, whether it's – I don't think he'll demand a trade, but everyone's gearing up to when he's available.
Boy, and I'll tell you what, you mentioned Anthony Davis. So my next question was, are the Celtics, is it for real? Are they still on this list of possible places where Anthony Davis can go? And is Kyrie Irving sticking around?
Kyrie Irving's gone. However, he's gone. Like they honestly should have traded him before the deadline. I really thought they should, because one, everything what the Celtics do is goes through Al Horford. When he plays well, when he's healthy, they're an elite team, offense and defensively. He's the guy that makes them go, not Kyrie Irving. Secondly, Anthony Davis. I don't see Danny Ainge, all those assets he accumulated over the last 5 or 6 years. I don't see him just all of a sudden saying, you know what, I'm going to take a gamble and don't throw all these in the trade for a guy that may not be. I just don't see that happening where there's other options available to better utilize those assets. I just don't see it. And also, here's the thing. Tatum's going to be really good. I think Jaylen Brown's going to be really good. You can't combine those guys and picks for a guy that's going to be there a year. I just don't see it happening.
And I grew up a huge Celtics fan, and I still am. I root for my Celtics. But, boy, Gordon Hayward, I don't want to blame the kid, the poor kid. I mean, he had this I shouldn't call him poor kid. He's making $30 million a year, scoring like 4 points a game. But ever since he got hurt last year, he is just not the same guy. And that's why I give so much credit to Paul George at OKC. And it's not to say that Gordon Hayward didn't want to maintain. I'm sure he did, but 2 different injuries and their body reacts differently. I tell you, Paul George is just – it's unbelievable what he's been able to do. Russell Westbrook, he's had some games where he struggled a little bit, but we all know how good of a player Russell Westbrook is. He's an absolute monster out there. He does everything. But to me, in the time I've watched basketball, one of the best comebacks from an injury, in my opinion, has to be Paul George. I mean, the guy's phenomenal.
So here's the thing. I was lucky to know someone that was in the operating room when he actually broke his leg. Mm-hmm. And they texted me early that morning. I'll never forget saying it was the cleanest break they ever saw. It was literally the cleanest break. He'll be fine. It may take a couple years for him to get back to his, get his wind back, get in basketball shape, but they were like, he'll be fine. When I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, that's good to hear, because when I was there, I saw the leg going the other way, and it was not a pretty sight. Something I always envisioned, and it's not good. Gordon Hayward, it's going to take a while to see if he can even come back, because right now he's still feeling his own way. This is year 1. Usually whenever you have a catastrophic injury, it's usually year 2 or 3 when you somewhat get back. He's still halfway through year 1. It's really tough. Then it makes it tough, though, is that he's making $30+ million, and there's 2 guys making less money that are better than him. That's the thing that makes this whole thing.
It's wild.
Yes.
What a great pickup, though, by OKC. And I really like that team. I'm going to tell you something. They're a sleeper team, and they're a team that I would not want to play in the playoffs. Those guys play hard, and I think the most impressive thing about that team is their defense.
Yes.
They defend. They're a really good defensive team. And when you're a good defensive team in the NBA, and you show how good you are defensively in the regular season, it's not a team I want to play in postseason. They're a very good team. I'm not saying they're going to win the NBA championship. I'm just saying it's a team that I would not want to play.
Oh, definitely. I agree with you. The only issue is this, though, with OKC. Is Russell Westbrook can't shoot poorly from the field and turn the ball over a bunch. You cannot have wasted possessions in the postseason because you only have so many. So if he goes 7 for 22, that's 15 missed shots. Let's say he has 8 turnovers. You just can't have 23 empty possessions in the playoffs. You can't versus good teams, and that's gonna be the thing. If he controls the turnovers, I don't care what he shoots. He controls the turnovers, he'll be right there. But if he doesn't, then you got issues.
So overall, go ahead, Chris.
So Jameson, you mentioned, of course, Kyrie Irving. There are certain owners that are in all professional sports that are just horrendous, and you have this feeling that they're never going to win a championship ever if this guy continues to be the owner. Obviously, James Dolan earlier this week decides that he's not going to sell the Knicks at this point.
He's not selling.
You brought up Kyrie Irving. Is there any way the New York Knicks are going to be a team that's going to be relevant if James Dolan continues to be the owner there?
They're getting Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving July 1st.
Wow.
There's a high possibility of them getting that's pretty much what's going to happen. That's the word on the street. Now, things could change between now and then, but if I had to put money on it, that's what I would put on it. It's not just because it's in, they're the Knicks. It's because they're in New York. And also, whomever brings New York a title first, they don't have to win a bunch of them. Just got to win one. If you win the Knicks one title, you're a legend forever. We still talk about Willis Reed 50 years later, and that was 50 years ago. If Kyrie and Kevin Durant win a title in New York, or whomever wins it, they're legends. We will not, I'll put it this way, if Kevin Durant wins a title in New York, we won't mention the whole him going to Golden State on a stacked team again. We won't. We'll completely forget it because the New York will supersede everything he's ever done in the NBA.
I want to bring up Damian Lillard for a second and why. I mean, we all know the great player that he is. Why I have just more respect for him than anything. A lot of people made a lot of comments over All-Star Weekend. In fact, some of James Harden's former players were kind of ragging on him a little bit, and Harden said it's tough to hear ex-players, say things like that about him. I'll ask you about that too. But Damian Lillard was asked, hey, do you want to play in one of these, teams, these championship teams? And his response was, I'm not going to sell myself out. Is that, number one, is that a cheap shot to a guy like LeBron or a Kevin Durant? And number two, do you buy what he says and do you believe what he says? Because I do.
So I actually one, Damian Lillard probably one of the best interviews in the league. He's very real, he's very authentic, but he's a very nice guy as well. He's a very down-to-earth, good dude. But this past summer, there was a situation where he did let it be known that if you do move him, he wouldn't also be sad about it. If they decided to move on from him because of his contract, and once you get swept, all bets are off. Like, once the team gets swept in the playoffs in the first round, there's no guarantee anyone's coming back. That's just how it is, especially with a guy like Paul Allen, who has deep pockets. Unfortunately, he passed away since then. But there was a period of time when we didn't know this core was coming back. But he let it be known that there's a couple teams he wouldn't mind going to. One of them was the Lakers. One of them was Utah. He played at Weber State. So he is loyal, but at the same time, he understood if it's a business, and if he were to be moved, he wanted to be moved to those places. With that being said, though, he's absolutely correct. He's a guy that he's very loyal, almost loyal to a fault. He wants to win, but, hey, he's not going to go out. You're not going to see him go ask for a trade. Now, remember, middle of last year, he went to the owner and asked for a meeting and say, hey, where we are as a team, where are we at, what's going on, where are we trying to get to? That's totally different than asking for a trade. So I do respect him for that. With that being said, we'll see where he's at in 2 years because it's the West, and the West is not getting any easier, and I just don't see them having enough talent to win a championship there.
I want to go back to the Warriors real quickly because over All-Star break, some of the Warriors staff, they were over there at All-Star break, and they took some questions from some people, and some members of the media were asking, has Kevin Durant alluded to what he's going to do? And some people on the Warriors staff said they have absolutely, quote, no idea what Durant will do when the season is over. Do you believe that?
They know. They've been knowing since October 1st. We all know. I mean, here's the thing. When a guy moves his business operations from wherever they were to New York City, Richard Kleiman's his agent, and Richard's a New York guy, so I get it. But when you move your operations mid-season, similar to how LeBron bought homes and moved his operations in the middle of last season, you kind of know what's coming. Like, you kind of know, hey, this move is being made. And it's a power move because, again, if you're the Knicks, if you're the guy people are coming to New York City to watch every night at Madison Square Garden, and again, if he somehow find a way, if he goes there, he somehow finds a way to win a ring, it changes everything. It puts him way up there on all the lists people like to talk about all the time. I get it. But, yeah, he's gone.
You talk about the East, of course. I want to get your take. We talk about the Celtics, obviously. We talk about the Raptors, but the Sixers, of course. Make the deals to bring in that starting five. That's impressive. But is the window short for this Philadelphia 76er team? And given that the contract situations with that starting five, when some of those guys there that may not want to stay.
I remember coming on the show a couple weeks ago and mentioned that Philly went all in with, I think, pocket 10s, I think it was. And I think now they got pocket, I'll give them pocket jacks. I don't know pocket queen. Pocket queen's a really good hand. But I think they got pocket jacks right now. They're all in with that. Not a bad hand, however, they have a lot of things going on. One, their biggest issue is Joel Embiid's health. What is his health long term? That's the biggest question.
That's the ace king you're fighting.
That's the suited too.
Suited ace king.
Suited in hearts. And that's the thing you got to worry about. If he stays healthy, you got a long window. He doesn't. I mean, he's already on. They're resting him for a week coming off the All-Star break already. I just don't know how long he can stay healthy. And also, how happy is Ben Simmons there? That's what's going to be a question. How happy is he there? Doesn't talk that much. Don't really know.
We all know he's happy when he's in the sack with Jenner. We know that.
Yeah, but we don't know.
I would be too. I'd be happy.
But we really don't know what he wants because we don't hear him talk. We don't know what he wants. So if they can keep this core together, they got a shot. But my biggest deal is, can Embiid stay healthy? If he stays healthy, they got a shot. If not, it gets ugly because they spend a lot of assets on this core.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. If you're just joining us, Jamison Welsh from Drive Time Sports, Chris Wynn in studio as well. And there's a lot of other questions surrounding the NBA. I guess I will try to get to them as quickly as I can because we only got a few more minutes left. What did you think? I wanted to ask you a little bit about the All-Star Weekend. We didn't really talk about that. I thought it was so cool to see Dirk Nowitzki out there. He takes 3 shots. He makes all 3 of them, and they were absolute bombs. And then as he's walking off the court, and all the players that respect him for his career and what he's been able to accomplish in Dallas has been incredible. He just looks at the players and he goes, "That's what I do." The guy could barely run.
Right, that's the thing. He was tired. He was gassed. Like I don't think he was ready for that. I don't think he was prepared. Remember, during the regular season, he doesn't play that much.
Yeah,
he comes in a couple times a game, and that's that. So
that was my favorite moment. I mean, I know you could talk about the Steph Curry bounce pass to the Greek Freak, the bounce pass alley-oop for a dunk.
Right.
I mean, look, I thought the players. I'll give all the players credit. I thought they put on a fantastic show. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a fun game to watch.
Right.
I thought LeBron was atrocious. He went 0 for 8. It just looked like he didn't want to put forth any effort into that game, which I think is unfortunate.
Till the end. I mean, he had some good moments toward the end, but yeah, I mean, I think Harden was worse than LeBron. Harden looked hungover.
He looked really bad.
He looked hungover. But he usually does. I mean, it's All-Star Weekend. All-Star Weekend is not really about the game. It's about the event. So I can't really knock a player for not trying hard in the All-Star game because it's not really what they're there for.
Seth Curry, 3-point shootout, and apparently in the 3-point contest, I love the fact that they were. I don't know if you heard about this, C-Win, but they were both competing. Whoever lost had to pay airfare tickets to their family to fly their family members out when they play each other. That is really expensive for the rest of their career.
Yeah,
we're talking 6 figures, easy. Okay, they played for a lot, and
come on now,
Seth had no chance.
Drop in the bucket.
Yeah, Steph
those
Curry.
Guys.
Well, I don't know,
especially Steph.
Seth doesn't have the Steph Curry money.
Right.
But what'd you think about that?
That was fun. Now, it wasn't necessarily the flights; it was more the game tickets. That was the thing. The game tickets
and the flights. Though, was the travel.
I didn't hear about the travel. I didn't hear about the travel.
That
was
the travel also.
That's interesting.
That's a lot of money on the line.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, that's a game changer.
Yes,
that's different. That's tough.
That's a lot of money, man. But I thought it was fun. What'd you think about the dunk contest?
It was bad.
Yeah, not as good as it once was.
No, the Levine Gordon dunk contest was the end of the dunk contest. We're never going to top that. There's no way it can be topped.
Well,
there's no way.
I think Dominique.
I'm saying going forward.
Okay,
like,
I see what you're saying.
There's nothing that could top that going forward.
I see what you're saying. Go ahead, Chris.
Do you think, given the way the NBA is now with the 3-point shot, maybe the 3-point shot should take prominence when it comes to All-Star Weekend?
I have an idea.
Are we all out of dunks for the dunk contest?
We are mostly out of dunks, but what we need to do is we need to have a king of the court. You guys cover Team USA in the summer. Yep. At the end of the practices, there's a king of the court thing, which means basically it's one-on-one with a couple guys watching to jump in once there's a turnover or made shot. We need to see a king of the court contest going on. The only issue is this. The guys that you want to see play king of the court probably won't do it on Saturday. So that's the only thing. But I think that should be something that should be pushed and elevated towards the decision-making line.
I love what they did with the NHL All-Star Game because it used to be just a regular game that wasn't physical, and now I love the 3-on-3 stuff. I think it's extremely entertaining. Do you think the NBA All-Star Weekend will ever put together something like that where we could see like a 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3 thing?
No. I don't see that at all. It won't get to that because remember, most of the guys who you want to see are in dress clothes and street clothes for All-Star Saturday night. I don't think we're going to see anything unless they offer a crazy big cash prize.
All right, fair enough. Well, first of all, Jameson, thank you so much for coming in. We always appreciate it every Wednesday. Our hoops guru, Jameson Wells. So thank you again. A lot of phenomenal information. I could probably ask you another 100 questions. Unfortunately, we just don't have time for it. We got this guy called Ken Thompson who does the show after my show. I never heard of him before, but he's coming up next. So stay tuned for that. Chris, always appreciate it, my man, when you come in as well. Appreciate the banter, certainly when it comes to politics, especially in the first hour. We always have some fun, Chris. I know I'll do it again with you this Monday, so look forward to that. Tomorrow on the show, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to find out more information when it comes to the Smollett story. We're also going to continue the discussion with our president, Mr. Donald Trump, and we will field your phone calls as we always do. Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports will be joining us, and Mr. Vegas himself, Johnny Katz from the Review Journal, on the who, what, when, where, and why of Las Vegas this weekend. Thanks for joining us, everybody. As I mentioned before, the legend himself, Ken Thompson, coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take. Check us out on Twitter at The Vegas Take. You're listening to the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM KDWN.